looks aged in Freddy's Dead.
I think I have lots of problems with Freddy's Dead, but we'll get to those when we get to them, I guess. I don't know. Freddy's Dead, it's for something, and again, I could say this about Jason Goes to Hell also, and I already have, but I mean, when you get to the end, or supposedly the end of a series, and this is kind of how you go out, I just expect better, but we'll get there. You know what I mean? We'll definitely get there.
Story about Andy Mangles and the nipple ring. That's a great story, and the pictures he has to prove it. He also sent me the obituaries that he did for the Hollywood, Freddy's Dead, We're Gonna Bury Him Forever. They had a casket laid out at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in L.A.
That was cool.
Yeah, and he's got all that stuff, and he sent me all that stuff. So, like I said, it's going to be great to have him on to give his perspective, because he blended a lot of elements from the earlier films and some of the better episodes of the television show to help make a clear, concise kind of Nightmare universe and sort of like a compendium to the Nightmare series for people that really wanted to delve in there. He also, I've got a map of where every house was. And you would be surprised about Freddy's house, because it ain't the house that Nancy lived in.
Interesting.
Yes, and I will get into that I will get into that, and Andy and I will get into that next week. But just be prepared for that, because everything you thought you knew about 1428 Elm is not what it seems, because he is I'm getting it right from the horse's mouth. And he's been talking to me the past couple of days pretty heavy, and now I'm back into the book full swing. And I can't wait till I talk about that with you guys, too, because I really think you're going to love it. I really do.
You know, I think, like I said, it's interesting to hear people's different takes on the things that went down. While I was watching Wes Craven's new Nightmare today, I was kind of noticing something, or just kind of seeing why I think people love Freddy so much. And again, Freddy's not my favorite. I've always been the silent killer type of guy, but I can see why people like Freddy. There's a certain charisma about him that none of the others had, so I can see why people would draw a connection with him and have always loved him so much. And but yeah, I mean, you know, Robert Englund, man, I tell you what, he's carried it this far. So it's been fun to kind of get into it, and you know, I can't wait to get in the next few. Hey, Jer, are you around? Or are you just listening?
Yeah, what's up, fella?
I just wanted to say, how's it going, buddy?
Not too bad, man. Happy birthday to you, boss.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Did you get to hear any of Ray earlier?
I did not. Just got
that's too bad.
everything situated here around the house and logged on around 10-ish.
Dude, it's never easy to do. When you get the opportunity to go back and listen to the talk about St. Valentine's Day Massacre, because Ray Johnson was awesome. Jer, do you have any thoughts on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre? Maybe done a little digging with the rest of us over the last few weeks?
I haven't got to do much digging. I still need to watch that documentary that you guys have been watching and telling me was really good. But no, I guess I really need to kind of start my research into the subject, and I'll probably, watch that documentary and then go back and check out Ray's interview, because I see from the messages here that you guys were really impressed with what he had to say and really enjoyed his story. So that makes me anxious to hear it.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It was good stuff, and but yeah, Jer, just like, and I know Blake's probably already seen it. I know Vic has too. That documentary, the first thing that'll come up when you search YouTube for St. Valentine's Day Massacre, narrated by Paul Sorvino. It's only an hour and a half. It's good stuff. It's definitely worth your time. No commercials or anything like that. So, yeah, just check it out. And, Jer, it kind of reminded me, it starts out, talks about February 14th, 1929, and what the weather was like there. And it kind of was like what it was here yesterday, because it was cold and snowy, and that's about what it was like in Chicago in 1929. So, 86 years ago, pretty good parallel there.
Yeah, it is. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listening in, seeing how you guys are wrapping things up, seeing what you guys are talking about. I know you're going back to Nightmare next week, I guess.
We've only got a few left of those. We've only got a few left of the Nightmare series, and then it's moving on to other things, maybe a little Candyman, something like that. It's not set in stone yet. Hatchet, too, at some point, too. I do want to ask you guys this since I've got everybody around. Hopefully Vic's somewhere around, too. What have you guys been watching? Anybody been watching any good horror lately?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we actually watched a couple. I guess I can go first. I only got a couple. My fiance and I finally got to see The Visit. I guess it was Saturday night that we watched it, and then also we watched Sinister 2, and we really, really loved Sinister. I thought it was one of the better horror movies that we'd seen in a while, and for me, the second one just didn't hold up. I mean, it was, it was a lot of, you definitely need to know what happened in Sinister to watch Sinister 2, and it's been a while since we've seen Sinister, so I don't know if it would be much better if you watched them back to back, but it just seemed like it was a lot of, this happened in the first movie, and now we're, investigating this, but, we actually ended up really liking The Visit. It was kind of shot differently, kind of Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch style, but kind of its own style as well, and it had a good little twist at the end. It's Shyamalan, so he likes to throw those little twists in, and it's one you could kind of see coming if you think about it. Like when it reveals itself, you're like, damn, of course, but. So we really enjoyed that one, and had some decent creep out moments. It's not big on gore or anything like that, but we enjoyed that one. So not so much Sinister 2 though, but that's kind of what we've been watching. And if there's anything other than the Nightmare series, I'm through the first 5 parts of that, so. Just continuing to watch those back as Blake has his retrospective on here and see those movies for the first time in about 10 years. So I'm looking forward to watching New Nightmare again because I really enjoy that film.
Yeah, for sure. Blake, what about you, buddy?
I've been watching a lot of shit, to be honest, a lot of horror stuff. I did watch this one that was kind of like a horror type film called Spring, and you don't realize it at first because it starts out with these guys, and it's like they're like Australian versions of like Jay and Silent Bob, except they both talk and they're really crass. But there's a neat hook in the middle about a guy going on vacation, meeting a chick and fucking around with her over in Italy, and then things get fucking weird as fuck. And then things get flat out insane. I recommend it. It's not technically a horror film, but there is a bizarre transformation sequence that nothing really bothers me. But watching this shit happen, I was kind of like, this is making my stomach a little bit queasy. I kind of like this because it's not a feeling I felt recently.
What was the name of the film, Blake?
Spring. Okay. It's just like spring break. Spring. Just one word. Spring.
Okay.
It was a Redbox thing, not gonna lie. It was Redbox, and I did see The Visit, liked it. I kind of saw the twist coming, but with all of his, this was one of the better of his. I really didn't like The Village all that much. I think the last one I really liked before Signs was probably The Sixth Sense. I saw Lady in the Water, not a big fan of that one, and he's got a little niche carved out for him anyway. But it was shot a little differently, more documentary style, more like Gerald was saying, Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity, something like that. It was decent to watch, and it was creepy at times. Sinister 2 I liked, but I will agree with Jared. I have to say you need to watch 1 and then watch 2 because certain people reappear from the first one, and in order to really get the scheme of what the hell's going on, you really need to watch the first one. Last night, in preparation for today's show, I watched a mob movie, but it was a vampire mob movie that my good pal Steve Johnson worked on called Innocent Blood. Very good. And Robert Loggia is Sal Michelli, very funny, very, very good. Directed by John Landis, 1992. If you haven't seen it, full of cameos. It's got Dario Argento. It's got Tom Savini. Sam Raimi, Evil Dead, creator, is in it. And then there's several Forrest Ackerman. And but Steve makes a cameo. He actually acts. He's one of the people in the hospital room when Don Rickles burns up when the sunlight hits him, and it's really, really fucking cool. So, yeah, that's what I watched. But, yeah, it's mob stuff, mob-related things. And Coach Snyder's actually in it, Travis. You get to see him in a non-nude ass scene without being whipped, paddled by fucking towels on his bare ass. You don't get to see that. He's more of a badass in this. And Louis Guzman is in it. It's a very early role for him. But, yeah, that's what I watched as far as that goes. And then I just went back and watched Nightmare on Elm Street 5, and I haven't touched Freddy's Dead yet, but I've been so busy with my book and the possibility of going to fucking Comic-Con as a guest that just was like, whoo, I fucking hope it happens, because I've never been to a convention, and there's one coming here in a couple of months. Robert Englund will be here in my hometown, so I'm going to try my damnedest.
Nice.
Can't forget, I don't know how I forgot that I also watched Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies, but I guess that goes to tell you that, yeah, I completely forgot watching that movie. So, yeah, I mean...
I need a rating, Jer.
1 out of 4, and that's
But sometimes you're so bad you have to see them now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's uncomfortably bad. I mean, Matt Hardy and Shane Douglas just seemed like they were doing rails the whole movie, and like Piper and Duggan are drunk, and Piper still outacts everybody in that movie by 10,000 miles, and Shane Douglas' acting is horrible.
That makes me sad.
Well, we can't all have, I mean, I know it's your favorite things, pro wrestling and fucking monsters, but I mean, just that in itself, you can't expect too much, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if there was a movie called Titties and Cake or something, it would probably be bad too.
I revisited a movie that we talked about last year on the show, My Bloody Valentine, the original My Bloody Valentine. And, I love My Bloody Valentine, especially the original with the scenes put back in. That part's important, because if you watch it without the scenes put back in, it's pretty tame. But if you watch the movie with the scenes put back in, where you've got the pickaxe through the eyeball and all those crazy-ass scenes in the original movie, that movie, it gets better exponentially. I mean, like, it's up there for me with Silent Night, Deadly Night as one of those kind of slashers that, didn't get a ton of, Silent Night, Deadly Night did get sequels, but didn't get a ton of press, and a lot of people maybe haven't seen it, but I think The Miner is one of the coolest killers of all time. And I think it would have been really cool, spoiler warning for people who haven't seen it, I think it would have been really cool if Harry Warden at some point was the killer instead of him just being dead. But, you only get him at the start, and then he dies like five years before the actual killings take place in the movie we watch. But, I mean, I think it would have been sweet if Harry Warden was the killer, and maybe a sequel or something, because Harry Warden he was a bad motherfucker. Dude was like killing people in the mine just so he could preserve his own air.
Yeah,
that's an underrated movie. I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's
being
awesome.
Burned Up in a Dryer was one of my favorites, because I didn't expect.
Oh, dude. Yeah, especially whenever it shows it, like, again, with the scene put back in where it's in slow-mo, her body just flipping around. Oh, it's brutal, but it's so good. That's a yearly tradition for me.
If you haven't,
it's going to have to be a tradition for me. It's going to have to be.
If you haven't seen the version of the movie that Travis is talking about, though, you're missing out on some really cool death scenes. Like, I mean, they like he said, they make the movie exponentially better.
I've seen the death scenes, like the ones they took out, but to be honest, and I'm not going to lie, I've never had a chance to actually see either one of them, the original or the remake. And the remake has got the dude from Supernatural in it, Jensen Ackles, and he's one of the...
And the remake, I mean, I think sometimes if a remake is actually decent, it just goes to show you how good the original was, and I think that's...
Absolutely. That's what I don't know, unfortunately.
They did a really good job with the remake as well, I think, and that just goes to show you, how cool of a story they had with, like Travis was mentioning, the miner just killing people to protect his air, and, So I actually like both of those movies. The remake.
Me too.
And the original.
Yeah, and you know what? I have to agree with you, Jer. I will say this: I like the original better than I do the remake, and not just because it's the original. The remake had some lapses in logic, but overall it was